everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Learn English with Podcast Conversation. This is episode 45, and I'm so excited to have you here today. We're going to have some fun learning English, and I promise it won't be boring. Are you ready? Let's get started. Today's episode is all about learning English in a way that's not only easy, but also fun. Yes, you heard me right, fun. I know sometimes learning a new language can feel like a lot of work, but it doesn't have to be that way. I'm going to share some stories, ask you some questions, and maybe even make you laugh a little. So let's dive in. Let me tell you a funny story that happened to a friend of mine when he was learning English. My friend, let's call him Tom, was traveling in the United States for the first time. He knew some English, but he was still learning, and sometimes he got confused with words. One day, he went to a restaurant and ordered a sandwich. The waiter asked him, "Would you like your sandwich to go?" Now, Tom was confused. He thought the waiter was asking if he wanted his sandwich to run away or move. So Tom said, No, I want it to stay here." The waiter looked at him, puzzled, and said, "So, you want to eat here?" Tom nodded, and they both laughed when they realized what had happened. The waiter explained that to go means to take the food with you. Tom learned a new phrase that day, and he never forgot it. Have you ever had a funny misunderstanding like that while learning English? If so, don't worry. It happens to everyone, and it's all part of the learning process. Mistakes are how we learn, and sometimes they make for the best stories. Now let's think about some common phrases in English. I'm going to say a phrase, and I want you to think about what it means. Ready? Here we go. Break the ice. What do you think this means? Does it mean to actually break a piece of ice? Or could it mean something else? Think about it for a moment. Pause. Yes. Break the ice means to start a conversation in a way that makes everyone feel comfortable. It's like making everyone feel less nervous. Have you ever had to break the ice in a new situation? It's raining cats and dogs. Now, do you think it's really raining animals from the sky? Of course not. This funny phrase means that it's raining very heavily. Next time you see a big rainstorm, you can say, "Wow, it's raining cats and dogs." Piece of cake. This one might make you hungry, but it doesn't actually mean a piece of dessert. If something is a piece of cake, it means it's very easy to do. For example, if you find today's podcast easy to understand, you might say, "Learning English with this podcast is a piece of cake." Wasn't that fun? English has so many interesting expressions, and they often don't mean what you might think at first. But that's what makes learning a new language so exciting. You get to discover all these little surprises along the way. Let's talk about practice. I know. Practice doesn't always sound like fun, but it can be. Imagine you're playing a game or a sport. The more you play, the better you get, right? It's the same with learning English. The more you practice, the better you'll become. Here's a fun way to practice. Try speaking English with a friend, even if you both make mistakes. You can have a competition to see who can use the most new words in a conversation. Or you can watch a movie in English and try to repeat some of the lines. Trust me, you'll learn a lot, and you'll have a great time doing it. Do you have a favorite way to practice English? Maybe you like listening to music in English or reading books. Whatever it is, keep doing it, because every bit of practice helps. Let me share another funny story with you. This one's about a shopping trip that didn't go exactly as planned. A woman named Sarah was in London for the first time, and she wanted to buy some souvenirs. She walked into a shop and saw a sign that said, "We sell everything from A to Z." Sarah thought, wow, they really have everything. So she asked the shopkeeper, "Do you have an elephant?" The shopkeeper was surprised, but decided to play along. He smiled and said, "I'm sorry, we're out of elephants today, but we do have a nice giraffe in the back." Sarah laughed and realized she was being teased. She didn't find an elephant, but she did find a lot of other great things to take home. This story shows how sometimes people use humor to make connections, even when they speak different languages. Have you ever had a shopping experience like this? Maybe you asked for something unusual and got a funny response. These little moments make learning English enjoyable and memorable. Now, I want to do something a bit different. Let's create a story together. I'll start the story and I want you to think about how it could continue. Are you ready? Here we go. Once upon a time, there was a cat named Whiskers. Whiskers loved to explore, and one day he found a mysterious box in the garden. The box was glowing with a strange light, and when Whiskers touched it, something amazing happened. What do you think happened next? Did the box open up and reveal a secret? Did Whiskers get transported to a magical world? Or maybe something funny happened, like the box was just full of cat toys. I want you to use your imagination and think about how the story could continue. This is a great way to practice English by creating your own stories. You can even write them down and share them with friends. Who knows, maybe you'll discover that you're a great storyteller. Before we end today's episode, I want to talk about one more thing. Laughter. Laughter is such a powerful tool when learning a new language. It helps us relax, it makes difficult things easier, and it brings people together. So don't be afraid to laugh at your mistakes or to find humor in the learning process. The more you enjoy it, the faster you'll learn. Remember, learning English doesn't have to be serious all the time. You can have fun, make jokes, and enjoy the journey. And when you do, you'll find that English becomes a part of your life in a natural and joyful way. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this thought. You can do it. Learning English is a big challenge, but you're already doing an amazing job by listening to this podcast and practicing every day. Keep going, keep smiling, and remember that every step you take brings you closer to fluency. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you had fun, learned something new, and maybe even laughed a little. Don't forget to tune in next time for more fun and learning. Until then, keep practicing. And remember, English is a piece of cake. Bye for now.